everyone. My apologies, I may not be quite as dynamic as the previous speakers and those that will follow, but labor relations is certainly a specialty of mine. Public speaking, you may soon find out, necessarily isn't. However, I am here representing many nurses in the community, of whom are likely related to many of the, well, I know a few of them are related to some of the ECP workers, and I'm also here on behalf of our provincial president, Linda Haslam-Stroud. We represent in its entirety 55,000 nurses and allied health professionals in Ontario, and more than 12,000 nursing students who provide care in every sector across Ontario. Our first message is to all the members of United Steelworkers Local 1500 here at ECP who have been standing their ground and fighting for fairness and justice for the last 2 years. We support you 100%. Your fight is our fight, and I can't thank you enough for having the courage to stand up for good jobs. That is, of course, what you're demanding, and it's what you and everyone in our community deserves, a good job. Whether your job is producing packaging for the products that make CEOs and investors rich, or looking after our parents and grandparents in a nursing home at a time in their lives when they need our help the most, you should not have to work more than one job to make ends meet. You should not have to worry about whether someone else, paid less than you, will be asked by the boss to come in the next day instead of you. You should not have to lie awake at night wondering whether you'll have enough money 30 years from now when your back is so sore that you can't work any longer. Whether the pension you won by joining a union and paid for with deductions from your paycheck every 2 weeks will still be around. And above all, you really should not have to be concerned about whether your government has your back. But sadly, that's what's at stake. Every one of ONA members has seen the effect of this recession on themselves and their patients. For our patients and clients, when there's a decline in good jobs, there's also a decline in income. And we know that generally the lower one's income is, the worse their overall health tends to be. For our members, the toll has been stress. The single largest cost of providing health care is staff, and RNs are the single largest group of healthcare professionals in most healthcare facilities. Therefore, RNs are always the first to be cut when reducing the costs. The result is that in just the past year, ONA has tracked 2,400 registered nurse cuts, representing more than 4 million hours of RN cost lost to the province, or care lost to the province. That's bad for Ontarians who need our care, and bad for ONA members who are stretched even thinner to provide the high quality of care that both our profession and our personal commitment demand of us. I mention this because it's important to consider the context of what's happening to the workforce today. All workers are under attack as our governments use the recession and the projected multi-billion-dollar deficits they attribute to it as an excuse to make cuts and take money out of our pockets. When I say our, I mean everyone who works in Ontario and in Canada. Nurses, steel workers, assembly line workers, mail carriers, flight attendants, children's aid workers, restaurant staff, home care workers, and the list goes on. While our provincial government plows ahead with reducing taxes for the wealthiest corporations by nearly $2.5 billion per year, you and I are being told that we have to sacrifice. In the public sector, we're being forced to take a pay freeze. Already, we've seen that translate into private sector employers trying to freeze the pay of their workers. We're being told that we should be selfless and stop being so greedy as to want good jobs that pay decently, so we can look after our families and contribute to the economy by paying our bills. What's more perverse is that for you, ECP employees, the attack began even prior to the Great Recession, which technically didn't start until October 2008. That means they were going after you and your decent jobs when profits were at their height and they didn't even have broader economic conditions to excuse their greed. This brings me for Linda to her second message, and I wholeheartedly share. It's for Premier Dalton McGuinty, Labour Minister Peter Fonseca, and our MPP Dave Levac. There are 185,000 fewer full-time jobs in Canada today than there were in the beginning of the recession in October 2008. As you know, this recession has hit Ontario workers the hardest, and our economy still hasn't recovered. You tell us that you want to invest in our province and that we should be wary of the boogeyman across the aisle from you in the legislature who has a hidden agenda of cutting healthcare workers, closing schools, and generally being unfriendly to workers who organize ourselves to fight for a better life and for better communities. Yet what we see happening right now is hardly different than the alternative we're supposed to be frightened about. When a government stands idly by for 24 months while workers are forced out of their jobs because an employer wants cheaper labor, that seems more like a third world country than our Ontario. We need legislation to protect good jobs now. We need anti-scab legislation now so the likes of ECP cannot continue to hold the hard workers of USW 1500 at ransom. So if you're listening, Mr. McGuinty, Mr. Fonseca, and Mr. Levac, and I hope you are because an election is right around the corner, take our advice because it's not just in our own best interest as individuals. Protecting good jobs will mean more people earning better wages and paying more income tax. Ensuring that more bad jobs become good jobs will mean a healthier workforce and a less costly healthcare system. It's good jobs that are a guaranteed solution to your deficit problem, not corporate tax cuts, which benefit companies like this one that want to drive down wages and guarantee not even one new job. With the economy still not recovered, there should be no higher priority for government than passing a law that prohibits the use of a replacement worker. The nurses of Ontario urge you to introduce an anti-scab bill as the first order of business tomorrow. Then you should cancel the corporate tax cuts. Sisters and brothers of Steelworkers Local 1500, stay strong. We're with you and we will not give up the fight. Thank you.